I want to welcome my colleague Juan Ruiz Cortez, who is our SJSU Life After College consultant. Juan Ruiz is an alumni of De Anza College. He graduated in 2015 and double majored in critical race and ethnic studies and philosophy at UC Santa Cruz. Then he completed his master's in philosophy in 2019, and he served as a graduate student mentor for the undocumented student services at UC Santa Cruz. He later became an independent contractor and is now the owner of Nepantla Philosophy, LLC, and has engaged with UC Santa Cruz as an Entrepreneurial Pilot Program Manager. Currently, Juan provides workshops, consulting, and educational training on pursuing graduate school and independent contracting for undocumented students. And we are very happy here at San Jose State to have him here and support us with the work. And so I want to pass it on to him to introduce our panel and start this really, really excited conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anna, for that introduction. It's a pleasure being here with all of you, of some of whom I've been a student with, others who I worked in different capacities. And I think you all bring a lovely perspective and something great for our audience. You've been selected because you come from different walks of life and they're very valuable. So I really appreciate you being here, and I'm honored to work with you. So I'm gonna jump right into our presentation slides. And this is going to give you, so I'm going to try to paint the picture so that we can start off of why is the entrepreneur mindset so important? Because we have here a panel of entrepreneurs who have already immersed in launching their business, and they had to embrace a certain kind of mindset. And that's very important from when you're brainstorming and once you're already in the crux of doing business. Of course, you have the other components like selecting a business model, creating a business plan, right? Drafting all the documents to get your contracts, do your taxes, but embracing this mindset, I think it's the cornerstone of where we start. And so let's begin. So we'll define the entrepreneur mindset. I'm gonna introduce to you your panelists, and we'll jump into Q&A so we can get to know them and share some resources with you for those of you that are already doing business or who are thinking of launching your business. So we have Rocio Preciado, Joel Ojeda, David Cruz, and Luis Cubas in the house with us today. And I selected them to be our panelists since they also graduated the university and at one point decided they wanted to work for their own account, right? We share the undocumented lived experience. And so some of us might have to embrace entrepreneurship as the only viable option to earn a living. Others might have DACA, for example, but that's at limbo. And so we can never be certain what's gonna happen if it gets removed or you no longer qualify for whatever reason. And so I thought it was important to bring folks who have a university education and what are they doing with their experience in terms of launching a business. So folks, would you like to say hi and probably mention the name of your business, and then I'll get started into talking of the entrepreneur mindset. Rocio, we can start with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Rocio Preciado, and my business is a bathing suit line, Reach Swimwear.
Hello everyone, my name is Joel Ojeda. I am currently a master's student pursuing entrepreneurship and innovation. And I launched Allies Pro Services, LLC, back in 2020, and I'm working towards my second venture, Access. So thank you for having me.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Cruz. My business is Translation Interpretation at Radiate Consulting Bay Area.
What's up, everybody? My name is Luis Cubas. I am the owner of Luis Cubas Photography. I also have Semillitas Photo Booth, which I launched last year. And I'm currently working on project number 3, which is the hyphy tab.
Excellent, thank you for that. So of course, with the Q&A sessions, we'll get to know why they selected to do their particular business structure. As you've heard, some of these folks have an LLC in their mind. a co-op or freelancing. And so it's important for you to know, why did they select this business structure, this way of doing business? And I welcome any and all questions in regards to their business background or education background. So let's start off with entrepreneurship, right? At the mere basics. There's a textbook definition of sorts. And so entrepreneurship is, like, let's say, the activity of setting up a business or businesses, taking on financial risk in the hope of profit. So folks that are entrepreneurs are embracing this business lifestyle and taking on this financial risk. But there's a different definition that I found from one of my students that I appreciate, both the student and the definition. It's figuring out a way to monetize your passion and earn revenue. It can be very simple, folks. It's something that you love doing, and you figure out a way to make money off of it. And if you love doing it and you have the right way of doing business and the right clientele, that can be what you're doing independent of the immigration hindrances upon us. And so I think that that's the beauty of what the entrepreneur mindset is. One thing that I would like to highlight at the very beginning is that if you embrace the idea that you can make money out of your own passion, something that you own, that you are the expert and you enjoy doing, it really doesn't matter to a certain degree that you are undocumented, because you could be flourishing in your business, and social security and work authorization is something secondary. So that's where we're gonna begin with the entrepreneur mindset. And we're gonna, of course, cover all of the other aspects that it requires for you to establish a business, but we're gonna move in this direction today. So a little bit more in depth, the entrepreneur mindset is a way of thinking creatively and strategically, decisively, that enables you to harness your passion, your skills, and your experience and knowledge to overcome challenges and provide solutions, and at the same time making money off of it. So some of the questions you might want to ask yourself, and that I'm sure our panelists here have asked themselves, what are some of the skills you possess? What drives and motivates you? And what are your talents and natural inclinations that you can then develop into a business of sorts? So the idea here is that you can work for yourself, develop an expertise, market your products or services wisely, understand the rules of engaging in contracting and paying your taxes thoroughly. But most importantly, you got to believe in yourself that this is attainable. So I think this is where we will segue into hearing from our panelists, because this is my take on what I take to be the entrepreneur mindset. I think I would like to ask you all, so how does the entrepreneur mindset influence you launching and maintaining your business? We can select one of our panelists at random. Luis Cubas.
It's kind of funny as you were going through the slides. The one that hella struck out to me was like the whole piece on passion, and it was hella clicking a lot of memories for me, because for me with photography, it really picked up in Santa Cruz too, and like it kind of picked up legit like from passion. You know, like I never really like envisioned or saw photography as like, oh, you know what, like I'm gonna build like a whole business like around this. It was always just like out of pure love, but little by little, I started seeing that more people were contacting me like, hey, yo, like I saw your pictures you took so-and-so, like how much are you charging? Like, what are you doing? Like, can you take my pictures? And mind you that at that time, I didn't even know what, you know, a pricing sheet was, or like what a contract was, like nothing, you know, like for me, it was just like, I love photography. Like I love the campus, you know, like I want to work with people. Like, and I think that whole piece of like, when it clicked, that I was like, oh, wow, like I can actually build an entire business around something that I love, and that it doesn't feel like work, was just like hella mind blowing to me. And up to this day, like I'm telling you, I have photo shoots, I'll go and it doesn't feel like work. Like legit, it feels like I'm having a conversation with somebody, and people pick that up, you know, because I'm not there to, yes, like I get paid, but I'm not there to just be like, oh, like, yeah, let me get your money and like peace, I'm out. But they feel that connection, you know, like, and when you're passionate about something, people feel that, like people see that, pick that up, and they support you too, you know, because it's more about building relationship with clients than it is like about the money like itself too.
Thank you. Would you like to select who goes next, or is there someone who would like to continue?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pick on David.
Yeah, thank you. So for me, it was a mix of passion and necessity. It was the fact that, one, not having the work authorization, I didn't have any way of employment. And during the fellowship research that I would do, the majority of them required, it's usually I would have thought to use a fellowship to go into an employment, but usually those fellowships, at least within linguistics or language labs, required work authorization. So as I was going through college, my whole excitement for language was being built. And after college, it was the necessity of needing to make an income and do something that was feasible for me, something that I didn't have to really go out of my way, extremely out of my way, to be able to establish something. Like I thought that whatever I had in my background was good enough for me to start something. And so before I started doing translation and interpretation through the cooperative, I actually started freelancing. So that's how, and one thing just led to the other. My first client, it would give me like a gig every month or every 2 months, and that was like $100 every month or two. But that client just suddenly started recommending the other and the other, and passing through time, the opportunity to merge my freelancing into a cooperative is what led me to where I am right now. So I think it was both a necessity and passion, something that keeps you going through the struggling times, and yeah, well, the necessity makes you do something. So I will choose Joel.
Yeah, thank you guys for sharing your stories. But yeah, I think that you guys kind of touched on a few good points. Is also I want to kind of like point out that there's different types of entrepreneurs, right? So we have need-based entrepreneurs, kind of like what David said, is those people that need supplemental income to kind of make a living and generate some kind of income that's going to put food on the table, right? Then we also have the social entrepreneurs who don't necessarily seek to make the biggest profits, but more so fix a problem or fix an issue that's affecting a certain community or a certain aspect within life that you're trying to fix, right? Whether it be social justice driven, it could be driven by inequalities or inequities that you yourself experience as well. So when I was trying to get into launching a business, is that I saw a lot of, or I experienced a lot of pushback with employment, right? As a non-DACA individual myself, I needed to also make an income, and I graduated with the bachelor's, and then I kind of went out to the real world and like kind of realized that there wasn't a lot for me out there. So I needed to do my own research around like how can I generate income? So this entrepreneur mindset, I think that it's always on when you're seeking ways to generate multiple streams of income, at least for myself. Like, okay, how can I fix a certain issue that would generate some form of income? So I got into food business for a little bit. I was an independent contractor doing some cooking for like pop-ups and food trucks and getting paid cash that way. And so then I started doing independent contracting for like building resumes and providing professional development workshops to students and organizations. And so little by little, I started kind of like putting my foot in the door and kind of testing the waters and what kind of stuff I'm good at. before incorporating myself into an LLC. So independent contracting and freelancing kind of gave me that that opportunity to kind of like get my foot wet with certain things that I was good at and the different skills that I acquired throughout my life. And then finally, when I found something that I can exploit, I incorporated myself into an LLC and kind of used my network to get into the doors of these different companies and organizations that I'm currently working with now. Rocio is the last, I believe.
Thank you, Joel. Well, for me, it definitely started off as a need in despair. So I had graduated from UC Santa Cruz. I did not have my work authorization, and I was being turned down from multiple positions that I had been offered positions, but I couldn't take them because I didn't have a work authorization. And that's when I first learned about LLCs. So I did join an LLC that I'm currently a part of, Manny Garcia Student Services. So I did have the opportunity to offer contracting opportunities to universities and also to the nonprofit where I currently work. And so that's how it started off. But it also started by working at the flea market after graduating college with my degree. And it was interesting because my mom had received her work authorization through the U visa, but she wasn't able to get a job. And I was being offered positions, but I couldn't get offered a job because I didn't have a work authorization. So that's when we were like, you know what, let's just go and sell jeans. So it really did start off from a place of just despair. I have to say it was very awkward for me to be there to try to sell a product. And then as time went on, I actually began to realize that all those years when I was interning at UC Santa Cruz or when I was working for student services, I was already doing some sort of marketing. I was already selling students the services that we were offering through campus, which they were already paying for. So it really did require a shift in my mindset and thinking about how we are always selling something. So we're all naturally entrepreneurs. We're all trying to sell something to people around us. And so it definitely started from really beginning to think about, well, how can I begin to really tap into the things that I already know how to do? When I finally landed a job, I did a lot of program development. So it required the design, assessing the needs, evaluating. And it really led me to realize that really entrepreneurship was the one opportunity that gave me a bigger sense of confidence in myself, in what was able to achieve and be able to do through my skills and the things that I knew and how to actually utilize them and maximize them, to feel that I could. So here's it's kind of a little bit off topic, but one of the things that I've always struggled with was work-life balance. Work-life balance was one thing that I always struggled with. And so as I began to realize that I had certain skills that I could utilize, that I could maximize and build that level of confidence, it gave me a more of a sense of ownership of how can I actually begin to have more ownership over my time, over my skills, and be able to then have a say, how do I utilize the things that I know how to do? And how can I then do the things that I genuinely feel passionate about and I really want to do and spend my time in? So it's been a balance of, just understanding my skills and having that sense of that I have ownership over my time.
Thank you all for your responses and for adding those levels of depth other than just it's driven by passion, but it's also driven by despair, by need, by innovation, by creativity. I appreciate that. I don't have a set order for these questions, but I think that one question that would be good here would be for you to talk a little bit about your business structure? Because I've heard LLCs or co-op or freelancing. Would you like to talk a little bit about how you chose this business structure, or why it's so important for the kind of work that you do?
Sure. I guess I can start. Just I am an established LLC, so I am active through the state of California. And like I mentioned in my answer, I did before I established and incorporated myself, I wanted to make sure that this is what I wanted to do. And it's important because the state of California is not going to care whether you're generating revenue or not. You're, as an LLC, you're going to be required to pay the annual fees and the taxes, and so the government's going to want their money. So before you enter into incorporating yourself as a separate entity, you want to make sure that this is something that you want to go through, and also that it's going to be a sustainable business, and that you have a sustainable business model that's going to essentially help you be able to pay off these fees, first of all, and second of all, generate enough income for you to kind of get by and pay your responsibilities, right? So before I incorporated myself as a LLC, I made sure that I explored independent contracting and explored the different skills and different industries that I was interested in. And then once I started generating a good amount of income as an independent contractor, I decided to incorporate myself as an LLC to protect myself from any possible legal hiccups or issues, because I was doing business as myself, my persona, Joel Ojeda. So the LLC incorporation came to separate my business from myself in a separate entity, so that I protect my liabilities and I protect the people I do business with. So it gives you a sense of security, and also gives you kind of a little bit of sense of legitimacy too when you're dealing with for example, I deal a lot with nonprofits and I deal a lot with universities. So the universities and the nonprofits I work with don't work with independent contractors. So being able to establish myself as an LLC has given me that opportunity and that upper hand to be able to actually engage in business to business transactions with these institutions that I'm currently contracted with. So there's the pros to being able to establish yourself as a separate entity.
Rocio, I know you are part of an LLC. Is there anything you would like to add to?
Yes, I really want to second some of the things that Joel mentioned, because I initially joined an LLC to offer professional services, and it was an LLC that was already established. So it was like a co-op, and that was super helpful for me because I had no idea what an LLC was. I had no idea how to do a contract or do any of those things. So it was super helpful to join an existing LLC that worked as a co-op to be able to learn and gauge a lot of those skills. With my bathing suit line, similar to some of the things that Joel mentioned, it is new. And currently I'm also proprietor. So I am also looking into waiting some time to kind of like build the business so to where it's more stable before incorporating into an LLC, and then looking into the potential models. But that business, for example, is currently a sole proprietor as I'm trying to build that business and then eventually incorporating it.
Thank you. David or Luis, I know you do business in different ways.
Yeah. So for me, I came into, well, the partnership that I'm in is a cooperative. It's also an LLC. But I came into that opportunity because since I was already doing freelancing, and I was already having some contracts. I didn't want to have because I didn't have the insurance, I didn't have my state license or anything as a freelancing. So like Joel, I needed a way to protect myself, specifically because I'm doing translation and interpretation. And if I'm doing contracts and there is something that can go wrong with a mistake that I could do as a human error, I needed to protect myself in some way or another. But also the opportunity was presented to me as I was looking to transition from one fellowship to another opportunity. And so the way in which that worked, and I didn't even know what a cooperative was. I knew what an LLC was, but I didn't know how to start one. And so the opportunity that came about is that some organization was running a program called the Rapid Response program in the San Francisco Bay Area. And throughout all the fellowships, I was directed to apply to that, because they were looking for people who already had some sort of clientele that wanted to grow, and that were also having some problems with obtaining contracts because of immigration status. So because of that, I applied, and from the moment that I applied, they tell you, okay, you go through a whole application process as if it was a work application. But once you got admitted as a member of the cooperative, is a special member, which is the one organizing the whole setup of the cooperative, and then the members who are admitted into the cooperative. And so along with the special member and all member owners of the cooperative, we develop what is we edited, which is like bylaws and bylaws, the work ethic that we're gonna do, the contract templates. So we were the ones that were gonna actually do the final say as to the way that we wanted to run our business. And so since I was presented with this opportunity and I accepted it, I had no other option but I to commit with myself. I was already doing translation and interpretation, so why not continue doing that? And I was also looking into doing grad school at the same time and whatnot, but it just so happened that that opportunity presented, and I also didn't even know about the amount of money that an LLC, a cooperative, was needed, that it needed to be created. From what I had seen during the creation of my cooperative, it was the sponsors gave us approximately $10,000 to $15,000 to be able to hire. Also, we had a lawyer that would check on the contracts, that would check the bylaws, that would check everything, and that we had an administrator, we had a bookkeeper. And so all of that funding through the organization that was doing the Rapid Response program is what allowed me to go into the LLC. Had it not been because of that, or through the cooperative LLC, but had it not been because of that opportunity, I think that I would have still be in the sole proprietorship, trying to figure out how to incorporate into an LLC. So that's how I ended up coming into the cooperative system.
For me, I still have my stuff as a sole proprietor, but it's actually this year that I'm going to be making the transition into an LLC, just because I feel like now it got to the point where there are more like assets that I have, especially like as we're potentially navigating like purchasing a home this year too. I think it definitely is the move that I need to make. But yeah, I mean, right now, I think when I got started, for me, it was like, I don't have like a lot of like, assets or like, money like laying around. I was like, photography, it's one of those fields that's also low risk per se too. I'm not doing like anything that it's like high risk that would involve some things. But of course, with that also comes that you need to think about what type of insurances do you need, right? Like, because sometimes venues will be like, hey, like we need liability insurance, right? So you need to make sure that that is like, that you cover like across different areas. It's not just like, cool, I got my sole proprietorship, right? Like now we're all good to go. Because people will ask for that, right? Like, and if you're not ready to provide that, then you might miss out like on opportunities. But yeah, transitioning into an LLC, so I can tell you about that later on this year.
Congratulations on that. Before we get on into other technical questions, I'm interested in knowing how has launching a business impacted your quality of life and perhaps some of the opportunities you've been able to take advantage of.
I think I can start that one. So for me, one of the opportunities that it has given me, or how it's changed my quality of life, I started doing $400 in a year just through translations in 2020. In 2021, I was able to do $4,000. So I was able to obtain $4,000 that I would not have been able to get it otherwise, doing something that I liked. And as of this year, I'm trying to again 10x my income from translation and interpretation. It's on its way, but it's definitely a lot of work, and it's been allowing me to have more opportunities to enjoy my own life than focusing on just work, than focusing on just duties and activities that must be done. And so, and within this, I mean, I've been able to find some freedom to keep enjoying and exploring the United States. Since I haven't been able to do advanced parole because I don't have DACA, all I can do is roam around the United States. And so me being able to work remote, me being able to work my own hours, me being able to have my own business and being able to elect my own clients has allowed me to have, in a way, a bigger sense of freedom within the understanding of what it is to be an undocumented individual.
That's awesome. That's awesome, David. But yeah, for me, it's kind of similar too. Is I think the ultimate goal of entrepreneurship or owning your own business is kind of like what David said, is financial freedom, right? So I've been very fortunate that my business took off. I've only been in business for 2 years. 2 years next month actually is going to be my 2-year anniversary with the business, and I'm a master's student. So as a non-documented master's student, there was very little financial assistance or financial aid. I've only received about $10,000 in scholarships. So the other $40,000 in tuition has been paid out of pocket. So I've been very fortunate. My goal for my first year in business was establishing a foundation and a structure to my business where I would have multiple streams of income that would kind of just work themselves, right? So I have been able to contract out to employ other undocumented independent contractors. So I've been able to generate jobs for 3 different people who are undocumented. So that's been a blessing in itself. So having those people working for an income, and then fulfilling the contracts that I'm in. So, and then I just kind of sit back at home and make sure, manage the contracts, manage the people working for me. So the work is very minimal. And those streams of income have been the ones that have been paying out my tuition. So, I would in no way be able to do this with a 9-to-5. So as David mentioned, I've been traveling across. My goal is to cover 40 states before I turn 40, and so far I have maybe like 13 or 14. So just being able to open the computer in Vegas or in New York or in Colorado, et cetera, and just checking emails and checking that my business is still functioning and there's no issues. It's been kind of like a blessing in disguise, you know, being an undocumented non-DACA recipient, having to hustle this much for the work to start working for me. It's been beneficial, and I actually stopped acquiring or looking for any more contracts because I'm a student, and sometimes in business, once you start growing too fast and start taking on more than you can actually handle, it'll ruin you more than it'll help you. So I'm taking a little break on getting my foot in the door in any more places until I graduate, and then I can focus on expanding, maybe bringing in a second or third full-time partner or something like that, so that we can continue to grow and expand my business. So those are my goals, and it's definitely impacted my quality of life, because when I was in school, you know, I was struggling. You know, I got several times that I was having to choose between eating and you know, putting $5 of gas in the car, or paying for a simple test or something like that. So it's definitely improved my life tremendously. So there's no cap. There's no cap as to how much money you can make as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. So that's a nice thing right there too.
I would like to add to the opportunity of being able to work from different places. And I think for me, one of the biggest things as well has been not just my own quality of life, but also the quality of life of my family. So as a result of me starting a business in the beginning with my mom, it inspired then my sister, who was a single mother, struggling with being able to maintain a job while having a toddler, to now having her own business as well and starting her own jean line. So then my dad also starting to build on his own confidence and also starting his own small business. So it's just really being able to see the level of confidence and freedom that you get to see in people when there's a level of being able to say, this is how much I want to make, and the work that I'm putting in is going to have the output, and you're going to be able to see it. And I think that's been, again, not just the quality of life for me, but then also for my family, and the level of just confidence that they have, and knowing that independent of where they're at or what happens, that they'll be able to find a way to create something for themselves.
Everybody said some hella important stuff. Joel really brought up the point of, you know, the beauty of entrepreneurship is that there's legit no cap as to like how much you can earn. And at the same time, it's like, you got to watch out how much you work. And I think that's something that I'm like learning how to balance properly. But yeah, I think for me, like, for sure, like financial stability has always been something I've been like out there like for a long time. And, you know, being able to provide like not only for myself, but for my family, right? Like long-term investments, whether that's like creating, you know, a retirement plan, being able to put money into that, or even the fact that because of photography that took so much, like now I was able to get pre-qualified for my home. Like college me would have never thought this was going to be a possibility, but like, yeah, here I am throwing offers in, you know, like to see if we get something. And that's the beauty of it, right? Like that you are going to have so many more opportunities that it gets to a point where like it just kind of becomes a snowball effect. And like that's what happened to me, where with the first photography business, like the money that I was able to get from that, like I put into like different buckets. I was like, oh, I want to do something else, you know, but I don't know what it is yet. And then the photo booth idea came up. It picked up hella quickly too. And then from there, I was like, oh, I have a little bit of money left over, right? Like, and, you know, opening up more doors, like not only for myself, right? Like I said, bringing in new things, like adding, you know, a retirement plan that I contribute to that is also like that's my mom's retirement plan too, right? Or even being able to, you know, just do things that before we weren't doing, right? Like maybe like going out to eat. Like, I mean, y'all know how parents are. They're like, hay frijoles en la casa. And yeah, there are frijoles en la casa, but you know what? Like, we can go out to eat to like a nice restaurant, right? Like the Cheesecake Factory, you name it. So yeah, I think that's been something that I've noticed that I really love about entrepreneurship, that as you're making it, like you're not only making it yourself, but you also are changing and shaping the life of other people and those around you too. Even for example, too, I have a friend too that I was able to bring on board, and she's my personal assistant now. She helps me out with, where I'm like, yo, like I need to get like, these start screens done for the photo booth, or like I needed to, answer like these DMs that I've been getting, like, and that part is a part that time that I also get to enjoy now with my family, right? Because I'm delegating new things onto somebody else that at the same time is creating a financial opportunity for them, right? But yeah, those are some of the things that popped up for me, but I love entrepreneurship.
Okay, great. I have a couple more questions. We have about half an hour to go with our recording. And so I'll ask the first one. What is the leading resource you use to do good business practices, or sets of resources? Maybe there's someone out there second guessing, like once I launch my business, I won't know what to do. What are some of the tools that you can pass down to folks who are considering launching a business?
One of the most important tools is time management. If time management, it's hard to manage your time as it is, but as an entrepreneur, I find it that you don't have someone behind you. You don't have somebody telling you that you have to do something. It is your own will that will make you do that. And so if you're able to manage yourself and have the will, like, and you have the drive to do it, I think that business will go well. In some there will be points that things will go slow and really slow, and they will be really discouraging. But as long, and I was just talking to my friend yesterday, like as long as the light of hope, like the dream, the flame of dream doesn't die, you will be able to get there. If it's not today, if it's not next week, consistency is key. And maybe in a month will happen. Maybe in 2 months, you'll get your first client. It took me months to get my first client. And so and it was very discouraging because for me, I was sending service proposals. I was submitting resumes. I was every single day. I had a list of about 10 different entities here in my hometown, in nearby towns, and I wouldn't get a response. And if I get a response, it would have been like, no, sorry, we're not looking for your businesses right now. So like if there's consistency, I just think that there has to be consistency, time management, and most importantly, like having your own accountability and passion for it. So I think that that's what has been driving me through the hard times.
Yeah, thank you for that, David. I think for me, it's more providing technical tools for you guys. There's a lot. I mean, we're living in a digital world now, so everything is like digitized, right? So there's a lot of apps that have helped me since I was an independent contractor to kind of maintain my business from receipts. Receipts are going to be your best friends in terms of tax season. Because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, there's so many loopholes. There's so many tax credits that you can take advantage of, tax write-offs that are going to be your best friends, and when you have to pay that self-employment tax or that business taxes, et cetera. So there's a lot of apps. Honestly, I don't even want to go through them too much, but it's a simple Google search, top 10 apps for independent contractors, top 10 apps for business owners, top 10 apps for self-employment. So I utilize a lot of apps for that. So I maintain my receipts. When I purchase something, I take a picture of it and that app saves it for me and then categorizes it. When I'm out driving, I turn on my Mile IQ app. so that it tracks the miles that I drive to meet with clients or do a business meeting or transaction. There's other apps that I use. Catch app helps me put money aside for self-employment tax. It also helps me put money aside for emergencies and puts money aside for investments or buying a house, etc. So there's a lot of tools out there that has helped me kind of be to ensure good business practices. And also like David had said, it's time management. So utilizing my Google Calendar for a lot of those time management skills that I need to build as a good business owner as well. So there's a lot of free resources and a lot of free tools out there that you can utilize as an independent contractor, as a self-employed individual, that will benefit your business practices.
Another one that I would just add is continuing to develop your skills. There's also a lot of different platforms and sites where you can continue to develop your skills, and some of these places can be free. I mean, I've learned a lot even about like improving a website through YouTube, or like some of the videos that like Shopify has. But there's so many opportunities to continue to develop and enhance your skills. And it's interesting because once you start doing and engaging in entrepreneurship, it's, at least this has happened to me, it's almost hard to not see other opportunities or to tap into other opportunities. And so as you're developing a lot of those skills, you're going to be able to actually tap into some of those opportunities that might come up or that might surface, and you're getting yourself ready for the changes in demands, and also realizing that the demands in the market can change. It can change over the years. So just continuing to tap into a lot of those skills and resources that can offer you some of those skills as well.
I think for me, for sure, the one I would say, if I was to probably just narrow it down to one, would be my CPA. Like my CPA helps me out with like making sure all my like, financial stuff are clean and good, like for tax season. Like we're about to have to pay quarterly taxes. She's like, yo, like the 18, like taxes are due. Make sure you file them and submit that payment like before then. And I think, any other like key information around finances, I think is hella important, just because you want to make sure that you see how your business is doing, right? Like where are the projections going to be? Especially when it comes to paying taxes, I think that was the biggest, like, yo, like this is legit. Like I'm paying taxes to the IRS, like I'm paying taxes to California part. And these are things that we don't talk about like enough, right? Or even the tax write-offs too. Like I think that whole piece of like of information about that, but yeah, my CPA has been like super helpful in just keeping like, my business like good, making sure that all the transactions are good, because the way that I got my CPA was actually because of my mistake. So I had QuickBooks, and I was like, all right, I got QuickBooks, like I'm going to do everything DIY. Don't do everything DIY, like if you're not so sure about stuff, especially finances. And so it was saying like on my credit card that I owed $3,000, and that in my actual credit card, like I had nothing. So I literally remember I spent a whole day going through all the transactions, and I was like, yeah, I cannot find where this issue is coming from. I was like, I think it's time to move this piece away to somebody else. Yeah, basically like a CPA is like a person that helps you like with your business. So like, how much money like is your business making, right? Like, oh, you got, 10 photo shoots this month, like, right? Like this is what your expected income is. This is how much you're going to have to pay to like the state of California. This is how much you're supposed to pay to like the IRS. With the person that I work with, like she also does my taxes. So at the end of the year, like it's a smoother like transition for me to like get that done. So, anything around like, how much money did you spend? Like, for example, this year that we knew that we were going to try and get a home, right? Like the conversation was around like, okay, like I see you bought photo booths last year. Like, do you want to make sure that these count as an expense for this year? Do you want to spread it out, right? So yeah, there's a lot of different things that go with like working with a CPA that I know have been like hella helpful, because I'm like, yo, like I just love photography. Like that's my thing, you know. I love doing art, like, but you know, it's important that yes, you do get an understanding of like, you know, some of the pieces around it. But when it comes to like, I think, you know, just putting those parts that maybe your business needs help with, that you reallocate that to somebody else that's a professional. So don't DIY your taxes like I did, because you're gonna finesse yourself.
Excellent, thank you. The last question that I had, and I think that you might have glossed over it or covered it, is what are some closing remarks you have? What are some best words of advice for your attendees? And also, what is one way that folks can find you to do business with you? Maybe you want to put in a plug right now for your social media or some of the services you offer. Would you like to do that now?
All right, I guess I'll go. I was waiting for someone else, but yeah. So some closing remarks. I think that number one thing, and I've done a couple panels and I've done a couple pitches for entrepreneurship pilot programs. I've pitched my idea several times to investors and programs here in the Bay Area. There's always going to be someone that questions your idea. There's always going to be someone that questions your passion or your business model, etc. You know, learn how to take the feedback, you know, because no business model is ever perfect, and no business idea is ever new, right? So there's always like every invented or every idea has already been invented or reinvented. So learn how to take that feedback and use it positively, and kind of you know, work through your business model and try to create something that that's going to be tailored to a certain target market, right? Because I think some of us are so focused at some points in trying to serve our friends and families, and you're not going to make a living off of serving just your friends and family. So you want to make sure that when you enter the business world as a business owner, you have a focused target markets that are outside of your friends and your you know, peers that are always going to support you, right? So focus your target market on people that you can actually create revenue off of. And then again, not everyone's going to love your idea, but if you're passionate about it and and you know it's something that you really want to pursue and push through, then just do it. But also know that with entrepreneurship comes a risk, and sometimes we see businesses not make it past the 5-year mark, and that's okay. You know, like if you need to step back and kind of rethink your business model and maybe tap into a different industry or reassess your entrepreneur mindset, then do it, right? Because not, you know, the next Uber or the next Tesla or the next DoorDash, etc. It wasn't just one idea and it just took off. It was a lot of modifications, a lot of feedback, a lot of business pitching, a lot of looking for people that are seeking the same that have the same passion. So I would definitely not be impacted by closed doors or be impacted by the no's that you get when you're trying to enter the business world. And I'll put my my personal contact on the chat as well if anyone wants to follow. It's always Allies Pro Services, but I'll add that as well.
For me, I would say closing remarks. So for those folks who are listening to this and are probably wondering, well, you know, entrepreneurs look a certain way, or, you know, like maybe I don't have a particular thing that entrepreneurs have. Like the thing here is it's really all about you just find what are your skills, what are you really good at, what are some of the things that you love, and what are some of the things that you will love to continue to do, and just know that, you know, we're all born with the ability to be able to, you know, influence and move people. And as long as you're grounded in your passions and your commitments, and there's a why to what you're doing. And that's essentially what you're really standing for, your why. I had to come in, I had to really do a lot of thinking and a lot of reflecting as to why bathing suits. You know, like, yes, the tax write-offs of going to like a vacation and tan by the beach to like do a photo shoot was awesome, but really what was there, you know, like my why, and really making sure that you're standing in your why when you're thinking about your business and your purpose. Because that's really what's going to keep you grounded. It's not going to be the product or what you're offering. It's going to be the why and the purpose and the problem that you're trying to solve through this business. And so, yeah, that's, I would say, my biggest advice, you know, like your why, really find your why and the problem that you're trying to solve. And then the product is gonna evolve and become its thing and come to life when it does. And I'll go ahead and share my my contact info in the chat as well.
Man, there's so many things. I feel like for sure, don't be scared to go after opportunities. I feel like when I started photography, I was like, when I had registered the business, I was like, okay, but where the clients at, you know? And I remember it probably took me like a few weeks to be like, oh, like I actually need to go out and like, you know, go after the opportunities. And once I got into that mindset of like, don't just wait for things to come your way, I think everything literally changed from like me starting to work with like universities and campuses to having the opportunity to go and do a wedding in Hawaii, because my mindset changed, you know. And I think that's something that up to this day I still continue doing. You know, if I want to work with somebody, you know, if I want to take pictures of a specific venue, like I go after that, and I make it happen, you know, one way or another to, you know, just create a bigger community and establish just more connections. I think the other piece too is that a piece that held me back for a long time to like actually become a business was I was like, oh, you know, like I don't have enough money to make a business. Like I don't have enough money to make a business. And this kept going for like a long time. I should have registered photography way back, like from the moment that I got to Santa Cruz. But really, it took me quite some time to get there. And once I did it, I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna have enough money to open this business, but I'm gonna do it because I want to do photography and this is what I'm passionate about. And people keep asking me about it. So legit, because of that, I got my first credit card with Bank of America, like for the business one. They were like, yo, it's interest free for like a whole year. And it's 3,500 in there. So guess what I did? I went, used it, bought my first camera, paid it off, went back, got a new lens, paid it off, went back, got another camera, went back. And like legit like that, I built up like my equipment, you know. And it's like, yeah, nobody has $3,000 laying around to buy a camera. Like cameras are hella expensive. You know, whatever business you're in, there's different opportunities like that. So make sure you check out whatever bank you want to open up your account with, because opportunities like that are super tight. Because one, you got your equipment that you need to start your business, and two, that's a tax write-off too. You know, it's a 2-in-1. Yeah, just go after whatever you want to do. You know, when you figure out those passions, opportunities are going to open up and you are going to find really unique and special things to make connections with clients. And I think that has been like a reason why I've been like growing my businesses, that for me, like I'm not just showing up as like your photographer, but like legit, I try to make connections with people. And like all of this just happens like naturally. That, you know, I think now my photography clients have become photo booth clients, and the photo booth clients have become photography clients. And now people are starting to hit me up for my third project, the hyphy tab. Like, yo, like, when are you gonna release the hyphy tab? So now it's like, it's literally like a whole system now, like where people go back and forth. So, you know, when people see the work and the love that you put into your projects and your ideas, they hella support. So, you know, just make sure that, you know, you just take this time and space to think about what it is that you want to do. Whatever it is, I know that you'll be successful at it.
Thank you for sharing. And before you finish, what is the hyphy tab?
You'll see soon, but basically I have like a bike. It's in production right now, and like it has the ability to like dispense like beer. So 2 different type of beers like on tap. But not only that, because for me, I've always like things adapting to what my needs are. So with the bike, you can say if you're like, hey, like Cubas, I'm gonna be doing a pop-up like Berkeley, and I'm actually going to be selling my clothes. Like I can actually customize the bike so that you have like a whole, you know, clothing rack to display like jewelry, like, you know, do outreach, etc. You name it. So it has multiple uses that you can use outside of like dispensing like beer per se. It's all you need. I'll keep y'all posted on it. Like I'll let y'all know and stuff.
Thank you for sharing and all these innovative ideas and your tenacity and audacity to go out there. This goes for every one of you here. And unfortunately, David had to leave soon for something that went beyond his control. But my words of appreciation also extend to David. I think this finalizes the Q&A portion unless anyone has any questions. Anna, if you have anything else you would like to inquire about, we have another 15 minutes and we'll reserve the last 10 minutes just to share some resources, immediate resources for folks that want to launch their business right now and some funding opportunities.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Juan, for facilitating this conversation. And thank you all for sharing everything you've shared today. As I've been listening to folks, it's been really inspirational just to hear like where you started and how you are, you know, how did you get where you are now? And the fact that this is not even the beginning, right? Like you're still working on this and there's a bigger picture for all of you. So for me, I guess I want to talk a little bit about the resources that are available at San Jose State. So maybe I can focus that towards the end. But I think just overall, thank you all for sharing your stories. I think for students who, in particular, who don't have DACA or don't have a work permit, I think oftentimes there's this assumption that you can't really do much with your education or with the skills that you bring to the table. And I think this conversation is a really great reminder that, hey, like you can actually take control of your life. And, you know, in your case, Joel, right, like you said, like you wouldn't have had the liberty to work from Colorado or from New York, right, or make the income that you made to be able to pay for your tuition for your master's program. And so I think that really speaks to just, like you said, the audacity, right, for undocumented immigrants to say, no, like we're going to work, we're here to stay, and, you know, like you can't get rid of us. And so thank you all so much for all of that. But yeah, I would love to hear about some of the resources that are available for folks who are thinking of starting their own business.
Sorry. So I am currently, I am also a staff member at Immigrants Rising. And so we have a grant. It's called a Spark grant. And so pretty much anyone who has a business idea, you don't even need to have the business started, but if you have a business idea and there's an intention that you might have in starting a business, you can apply for a $5,000 grant to help you launch your business. If it's already an existing business that makes over $100,000 a year, then you can go ahead and apply and receive up to $10,000. I have to say, apply, like there's multiple students that are kind of like, well, I'm not exactly sure how to put my business into words, so I don't know if I'll like actually get it or if I'm eligible. Just apply, because if you don't apply, you're definitely not going to get it. So make sure that you apply for this opportunity. And then I'll also like to highlight, there's another organization, Mission Asset Fund. Mission Asset Fund, what they do is they have lending circles, also known as, for example, tandas. So it will help you build your own personal credit, or you can also start building your own business credit. And their loans are 0% interest rate as well. And yeah, check out our Immigrants Rising website. I mean, there's so much that I could like share. That's there. We have really awesome activity groups as well. We have one on developing a business and also developing a business plan. So we have an activity group that runs over the course of 6 weeks. And I'll also share the link to the site as well.
Yes, thank you, Rocio, for mentioning that. I actually had prepared a slide that I was going to share with folks. Since I did apply for the grant and I did receive it, and I have yet to send my receipts. They extended the deadline I have the funds in the bank because I haven't even used them yet since I've been doing other things. But yeah, I encourage everyone to apply if you're in the process of launching a business, or if you are a business owner already and you have done taxes in the past, then you can render that as evidence of your business, and you may be able to get the grant. I had prepared other slides that I was going to share, but I think I'm going to incorporate those in my other training. But for folks that have an interest, just scratching the surface, if you want to know how to establish your business name, if you want to know if you need a sort of business license or seller's permit and you're doing business in California, these links that I have prepared provide you the information for that. So according to your county and whatever activity it is that you're gonna embark in, you start from how you're gonna establish your business, what sort of license or permit. And these are all updated links, live links and information. One of the most important resources, I think. As well as I share other resources for those that are ready to launch a full-on business entity. But we'll go over that next training, I believe. And some information, if you're like, okay, well, I hear about getting an ITIN or an EIN number, where do I start with that? So basic information, folks, for you to be able to report your taxes, some of the information on and links on what you're able to do with an ITIN. So you're able to report taxes. Is not work authorization, but there's a wealth of benefits that also come with requesting your ITIN from the IRS, right? As some of you folks here have a business entity, you're able to request an employer identification number, an EIN, and the irony of all ironies, you might not have work authorization, yet with the EIN, you can employ folks who do. So some resources for you. And this toolkit, I would also like to cite it since it's where I take a lot of my information and present it here. It's 47 pages from Immigrants Rising and the collaboration they did with the UCs to be able to inform you what are the business structures, the business models, some of the resources for you to know to be able to generate income despite being undocumented or without work authorization. Okay, and as Rocio rightfully pointed out, the Spark website with Immigrants Rising, please visit that. So I think we're at conclusion, folks. Thank you. If you have any questions, comments, you can contact me directly. You're an entrepreneurship consultant with San Jose State University. My name is Juan Ruiz, and Juan Ruiz at nepantlaphilosophhy.com. If you want to talk philosophy, if you want to talk anything undocumentedness, grad school, or entrepreneurship, please reach out.
And his contact information is on our website. So if you go to sjsu.edu/UndocuSpartan under contact us, you'll find his calendar and email as well.
Yes, so, my office hours are
yes.
starting Thursday, 4 to 5 p.m. Or if you're an early bird, I have Fridays at 10 to 11 a.m.
Perfect.
Reserve 30-minute slots or both slots if needed, or sometime outside of that time.